On this episode, have faith in the outflow. Hey everybody, this is the Quarter Show. And there's a topic that I talk about a lot. There's actually, it comes up a lot. And it's this whole idea about having faith in the outflow. And more specifically, you know, I tell my team, and we run into different points, and everybody has different points. You have these ebb and flows, right? You have, all of a sudden you get a lot of emails, you have a lot of cycles coming, you have phone calls happening, all these different things are going on, and your day's really busy and productive. And then there's lulls, right? But the lulls are caused, you're causing them. You just don't realize it, you know, but it's not enough consistent action. And it sounds obvious, you know, but I think people get really defeated when people are out of communication. And the truth is, we live in a crazy time. We live in a very busy time. I have 30,000 emails myself, and you know, I get back to my emails, but they stack up all these different things, and in my inbox, I mean, a lot of them are handled, but you know, we got social media, we have all these distractions, we have busy, everybody's busy, everybody's a little overwhelmed, everybody's a little frantic. And so, because everybody, essentially, if you talk to your neighbor, you talk to other business people, other people working around you, they're all also getting 100 emails a day, 200 emails a day, 1,000 emails per day, right? And nobody can really keep up with that rapidity, keep up with that inflow that's happening on you. And so they end up like kind of going out of communication. People kind of drop out of communication. They stop answering the phone calls and they stop answering the emails, and they're kind of drowning. And then you're like, oh, why don't they get back to me? You know, and the truth is that, you know, because they're overwhelmed or they're busy or whatever, and you're not really thinking with that sort of like what's happening on that side, that dynamic. And so one of the concepts we talk about is like, you have to have faith in the outflow. You have to have faith in the outflow of, like, we talk about this idea of like, you outflow until you get a trickle. And then you continue to outflow until that trickle turns to a flood. And then you continue to outflow until that flood turns into a tsunami, right? It's like trickle, flood, tsunami. And when it's a tsunami, you're kind of like, oh my God, now you're buried. But you know, I think a lot of people will outflow. They'll be emailing people or phone calling or voicemails or whatever, and they get no gratification, no feedback, nothing back in. And they lose energy. They lose that sort of like vigor for what they're doing, and they get defeated, and then they stop or whatever, and then they just like crash. And like, you can't do that. You have to have faith in the outflow before you get to that point. And then you have to keep going, and you get a trickle, and you have to understand that trickle is really, really important, and that's a really good thing. And I think a lot of people are like, oh, you know, so-and-so got back to me. But you have to validate that trickle and then outflow more, hammer it on further until it turns into a flood. And you're like, okay, now things are happening, and then outflow more until it turns into a tsunami. And you have to have faith in that outflow, and that outflow could mean a lot of different things. It could be email, it could be text message, it could be voice memos, it could be voicemails, it could be phone calls, it could be in-person meetings, it could be social media work, it could be a blog, it could be a post, you know, it could be like a blog or an article or an interview, or it could be so many things. And you have to innovate, and you have to be creative and say, well, what is that outflow? And look, I think a lot of people whittle it down these days, where it's like, oh, I emailed them, or I keep emailing them and nothing back. It's like, cool, like, are you really working? You know, like, are you actually working? You know?
Yeah, exactly. And it's when you start to get that trickle, and it's not the communication you want, it's not the one that you wanted to get back.
Yeah. You
know, there's a total tendency to kind of go, okay, delete. Now I'll wait for the next one, or maybe I'll call Frank again. I don't know. But you do have to have faith in it, because it did come back as a result of you communicating. So you have to like even double what you're doing. And you know, an interesting thing, and you know, so there are different challenges, especially in sales, that come in at different times. You know, and we can say, oh, the time of year, or the whatever, or the holiday, or this or that. You can say different things. But you have to measure the amount, like how much are you getting back, and then you measure that against how much are you doing. and you will get back what you're doing, unfortunately or fortunately, and that's up to the salesperson. That's up to us as salespeople to make it fortunately. So you're total cause. You're totally the cause position on the thing, and there's all sorts of emotions you go through, and all sorts of like, darn it, I wish a different one, or why isn't so and so. And that's fine. It's part of the game, but you have to kind of rise above it a little bit if you're going to do enough outflow as surely a stable operation basis. If you're going to be able to do it, you have to rise above that emotion a little bit and kind of ignore it.
Yeah.
Because it'll stop you.
The other thing that's interesting is that the outflow that you do, it might, so for example, you might go hit and outflow 10 people. These 10 people, Tommy, Sally, Billy, Johnny, right? And the inflow comes from this other person that you didn't outflow to. It's like but this doesn't come in, this inflow doesn't come in without those actions. Like you actually go do those actions, and oddly, coincidentally, John, this other guy, gets back to you and says, hey, you know what, I need this, or I'd like to have a conversation and talk about this. But it would have not happened, call it mysticism, call it whatever you want.
See, this is unprovable, but it's absolutely truth.
Yeah, I mean, look,
truth.
If anybody who's been in the trenches done this knows this to be true.
Yep. And if you assign it somewhere else, if you assign it to randomity, you're going to lose a little bit.
I mean, here's the thing. I don't believe in coincidence. You shouldn't either. I don't believe in coincidence. These things are connected. You do that outflow, and here comes this other random thing that you didn't even outflow, and then you go work on that deal, right? And even, like Ben said, the inflow sometimes might be negative. Oh, we're not interested in doing it right now. Oh, we don't, like, that's fine. Yeah. That still needs to be validated. That's still part of the trickle.
That's okay.
Right?
All right.
Good.
Somehow I turned on the faucet.
Got some traction. Got some traction. Keep going. Keep going. Don't get defeated by it. That's a good thing. That's a trickle. That's a good thing that leads to the other stuff. Yeah. Right? And that's also an opportunity to pivot and turn it and change the deal, pivot the deal, fix it, whatever, and make it what you want.
I was just looking through a client just this morning, where I pivoted hard. He was like, cool, next year, it looks like it won't work out. I have only this much to spend. And I pivoted hard. Same day, got it signed same day.
Yeah.
And it was like, but it was a hard pivot. So you can never take a loss on it. I mean, it doesn't help you to do so.
It doesn't. And those are opportunities, and that's, you got to take advantage of the trickle, and again, just keep going. Don't stop at the trickle. Keep going. Hit the flood. Don't stop. Hit the tsunami. And the secret is, like, when you get hit with a tsunami, the secret is to keep going. You know, so whether that means you need to get an assistant or whatever, you have to keep going, because salespeople ebb and flow, and then they now they're overwhelmed with the thing, and then they drop out the outflow, they drop out the action, and then they handle what they have, and then they go and then it goes back down to nothing, and then they have to go trickle, flood, tsunami, and it's like, or they don't do trickle, flood, tsunami, or whatever, but you have to keep it going, right? You have to keep it going, keep fanning the flame, you know. And this is the secret, you know. This is a big part of successfully selling, you know.
Yeah, you know, as a note, I think my observation is Devin on our sales team here is one of the best at fanning the flame, because I think he doesn't really, he sort of ignores when people sign off and clients sign up. He sort of just good,
foregone conclusion.
That's fine, good. Anyway, I was doing this, and he just doesn't seem to care.
Yeah,
he doesn't go, woohoo! Let me put my feet up on the desk.
It's true. If you don't stop when you get, like, even if you get a deal, like, you have to keep going. Yeah. You just focused on the habit, right? You focus on the habit, and the deals come in, and you're like, okay, yep, good, that one's in, good, next, and you just keep in the habit, and the deals come in, and next thing you know, you end up doing really, really well.
Yeah, consistently.
Right. You know, but it does take consistency, and I think they wrestle with their defeatism, or they get beat up by it, or take losses on it, or whatever, and you really just need to knock all that off and just trust the outflow, have faith in the outflow, hit it, trickle, hit it, flood, hit it, tsunami. It's really important, and that's going to drive a lot of business for you. And this is not just a sale. This is just business in general. Yeah. Sales, of course, it works really well on marketing and all that kind of stuff, but you do have to keep it there. And if you look at any pro, anybody who's done really, really well, it's the same thing. You know, it's essentially what they do. Any company, anything that's working really well, and you look at them and they have success, that's essentially what they're doing. Yeah. So keep that in, or if you don't have it in, get it in. It's going to help. We're going into, the holiday season, going into, December. We're going into New Year, January, all that kind of stuff. This is what you need to be doing, and you need to be doing it heavily right now. Okay? Hope that helps. If you like the show, subscribe right there, hit the like button, and of course share it on social media. Okay? Thanks.
Okay, quick outtake. Here we go. Ready? I'm just gonna, it's an outtake. It's funny. You'll like it.
Okay.
Have you seen the show Gilmore Girls? Okay, it's like a late 90s to early 2000s. Netflix just rebooted their things. They got 4 new, they're like hour and a half long episodes. Awesome. I binge watch it with Morgan, my wife. It's incredible, but
that's that is like the epitome of what I would not watch.
Never ever watch.
Ever.
No, no.
No offense.
No, look, I don't
If you
watch
love
it. She watches it, and I hear it a little bit, whatever. Anyway, but it's a nice look into late 90s and the technology that was developing at the time, right? And the internet starts to come out. So they're in one of these episodes, it must have been around 2000 or 2001 or even just before, they're like, have you heard of this new thing, email? And then it develops in the show, and they're like, why are you calling them? You should just email them. Don't you want to do things faster? And I went, the false datum started at the beginning. The falsity started back at the beginning. But what you see over the course of the episode is the mom and the daughter are emailing each other, and the relationship degrades.
Okay.
Within 40 minutes of television show, the relationship is that they're like just in little blips, and they don't care about each other. They're like best friends. And because they're only emailing each other, it just goes into nothing. And they're like, oh yeah, you can't do the phone call with all these people because then you have to talk about how things are going, and you have to do all this chit chat.
Sidestep the real communication.
Right.
Yeah.
So they go on this email thing, man. But it was interesting to see.
Yeah, I have a love-hate relationship with email. I love it, but I agree. It drops out the human interaction. And the truth is, the faster way actually is phone.
And that's what was so crazy. I'm like, I think their time is like, you know, like, it was wild. So, Gilmore Girls. It's a good show.
Check it out.
I wouldn't
if you haven't watched it yet, make sure you watch the Gilmore Girls.
Anyway, that was it.
All right.